Hey, welcome back to another Lumiyoki mini video. It's really awesome to see you guys again. It's been such a long time, and I'm really happy that I have the energy and time to create a video again. To be honest, it's been a while since I felt that way. I've been doing quite long commission painting weeks, and during the weekend I just kind of like want to forget that miniatures exist, to be honest. And I just like even the YouTube video doesn't really require me usually painting something, but still it takes many hours usually to shoot and edit, and it's not something I want to do if I feel like just like being in a coma on the bed. I'm sure you know that feeling after like a long work week. But anyway, I still do miss creating YouTube videos, and I really was thinking like, okay, what could I do that wouldn't take as much time for me to shoot and edit it, but still would be kind of like valuable for you, the viewers. And I've decided that I'm going to start a new YouTube series. Basically, after each time that I've painted some really cool miniature, I'm going to be shooting a video, like showing it from different angles and explaining to you why I made specific decisions that I made, what I think is cool about the miniature, what was difficult to paint, for example, what kind of like, choices I made, what was my thinking behind it. And also, since usually when you like see a photo of a miniature, it's been like the specific angle has been chosen to be perfect, so like everything looks as good as possible in that picture, but you don't see what's basically happening in the background, right? So in this kind of video format, I'm able to basically rotate the miniature around, show you what's under the miniature, what's behind the miniature, and again, like talk about the process. So I think this would be like a cool show, and I hope you enjoy it. So the first project that I'm going to be showcasing to you is something that I just finished from my friend. This is a commission project for the Nemesis Board Game miniatures. And as you see, it's a medium-sized project and required quite a lot of various like painting different monsters. My idea behind this project was that I wanted to make all the monsters look different, or like all the monster subtypes to look different from each other, but similar to each other, like within that specific category of monster. And then also you have the 6 different characters that my friend provided. I think there are expansions and probably more stuff that I haven't painted here, but these are the miniatures that I had to paint. So the characters were quite obvious. There's some card art that I followed, but the art is very abstract and you don't really see the details. You just see kind of the main color for the different characters. And this is something I'll be talking about later. But that was like the thinking behind the characters. But the monsters were, I feel like, completely open for me to decide. And my friend was really cool and just said like, okay, just do what you feel is nice. So these kinds of projects are fun because I just get to like really think about the choices that I make. And the most important choice that I made here was that I wanted the monsters to have like a very biological look. So I didn't want to have any metallics on the miniatures themselves. They have this kind of alien type, like alien carapace, biological carapace for their armor, and then they have their skin. And then of course there's metallics in the base, but that's because the spaceship is of course more metallic. And the idea that I had was, all right, well, I want to have basically 2 colors for each miniature. And I want the carapace to be one color, and I want the skin to be the second color. And of course, it was important these colors kind of combine well together. So I was using opposite colors for most of these miniatures, basically. The idea is that like the skin is the more vibrant color, and then we have the carapace that is kind of the opposite color, but making sure that I tune it down in some way so the miniature isn't too colorful and too chaotic in that way. But again, more on these choices later when I look at all the separate miniatures. And let's move into that now. So let's start with the more boring characters, the humans. Who wants the humans in their board game? And as I mentioned, their colors were kind of pre-designed already in the character art. So I wanted to make sure that I followed that so that it's really easy to play and know where your character is. So the engineer is orange. He's got this kind of spacesuit and then just basically metallic armor. And as I said, like these are quite simple, all of these characters. They just have a specific color, like the pilot has a red suit and really cool. And like this kind of blue helmet, I really like. That's basically my interpretation of his glass on the helmet. I like it. I think it looks nice. Then we have the scout. She's all purple in the character art, so I went with like a purple suit and then a bit more vibrant purple hair for her, with like more pink mixed into the highlights. But her design, her sculpting was atrocious. Like, it was really difficult to actually paint the face. I basically had to paint all of the details of her face. Then we have the captain. The captain looks really cool. He has this kind of beard and like shiny hair. I really like it. He looks like an old space cowboy, basically. Yeah, a lot of metallics, a lot of blue. Nothing too special. Next step is the pilot. She has this kind of like green camo suit, and I like this. I like this color. I think it's a good mixture between like camo, army green, and dark green. Yeah, nothing again special. And then we have the scientist. The scientist has a wheelchair, and I was thinking like, well, should I paint the wheels and the wheelchair metallic? But I felt that like, no, actually this is kind of like cool science fiction wheelchair in the future. So I kind of like chose just like it's some kind of cool black alloy. And yeah, I also like his suit color. But yeah, as I mentioned, this is basically like the easiest part of the painting project, where you have very clear directions, and the miniatures also don't have that many like crazy details. Also, the miniatures were really small, so I didn't want to go like overboard painting like really insane things. But I just wanted to make sure that like they have a specific color and you could see it on the board very easily. And then we move on to the aliens, the more interesting part of the project. And as I mentioned, like, yeah, okay, so the philosophy was make sure that the skin is a specific color that is quite vibrant, and then choose its opposite color and tone it down. And I think you can see this philosophy really well on these small alien creatures that are the smallest of the miniatures. And they're so small that I actually just kind of like didn't really try to make the details again pop out in any way. I just wanted them to be like this kind of sickly like color combination where it just looks like there's like a swarm of worms coming out at you. So there's just like this kind of dirty yellow and then this kind of off-color purple just that you see. And in this case, it was really important actually to make sure, like for this miniature specifically, that the two colors complement each other well. Because as you know, color opposites on the color wheel, they pop much better if you have, for example, like that purple carapace on the yellow skin. And when the miniatures have so little detail and they're so small, it's really important to make sure that these two distinct elements, the carapace and the skin, are very visible and distinct from each other, even from like a distance. And that's why I had this idea that like, okay, it really has to be the opposite color. But then again, you also don't want it to be like super vibrant yellow, super vibrant purple, because then your eyes are gonna hurt. Next up, we have the second smallest aliens, and they're these kind of creatures that I don't know if their like legs are chopped up or maybe their legs are just like that and they're just like crawling at you, like very scary horror hook monsters. And yeah, again, we have like the orange and blue, two opposite colors. The blue is being like less colorful blue, and the orange it pops quite a lot. But actually, like the orange originally popped a bit too much, so I put some brown sepia wash over it, so like the orange doesn't pop too much. Otherwise it was just, in that case, a bit too much. And yeah, I also wanted to mention that like these colors, I just came up with them. Like there wasn't any specific logic in choosing that the smallest creatures are yellow and then the next ones are orange. I just felt that like, all right, these guys could be yellow, these guys could be orange, and then the carapace is the opposite color. I think it works pretty well. Then we have like the third type of creature. 4 of these miniatures are already like medium size, like ogre size basically. And these guys are really alien colors. I really like them because like they're just like so out of the box color scheme. So there's this like kind of almost like demonic red, like really bright red skin, but they're not supposed to be demonic, but they do look scary through that, and that's a good thing because there are these kinds of like prowling creatures, like they're hunting for you. So I wanted to go for that kind of like scary color. And then I didn't just want to just take green as their opposite color, but I went for this kind of jade green color line. And it turned out really like fascinating because like this is kind of color you wouldn't really ever see it anywhere, and I feel like it really adds to their alien look and kind of like really predatory look from the skin and alien look from their really bizarre color carapace. And now we have the next creatures who are really, like truly big already, and they have like really interesting details already. So they're like there's this kind of like more detailing on the bases. There's some metallic planks that are like like standing next to or leaning on. And again, like we have like this kind of bluish turquoise skin more vibrant, and then like a really like a toned down red. This is like burgundy. I started with burgundy red, and I added like orangish red to it, and like just more and more orangish red, and then those were the highlights for this miniature. And I think like those two colors look cool together, and these guys look a bit more subdued than the previous guys, but still like really terrifying, and it's pretty cool. And then we have like the 3 last miniatures, so the 3 really big guys. These guys are the size of a giant from like old Warhammer. So first of all, these kinds of 2 big creatures, I imagine like they're kind of like kings or princes of the aliens, and I wanted to like represent that like through a noble color like the purple, and their opposite color would be yellow again, just like the aliens. But you know, you see the difference in the yellow of these guys and the yellow of the small aliens. So this is a very off yellow color, like way more brown, and then just, you know, like yellow. And I think again looks really cool together. There I'm also showcasing the base that I had throughout this whole project, where there's just basically metallic floor, and then it's been scratched up with the brighter metallics, and then there's like all sorts of you know, like vomit green or like alien, you know, goo green and blood red on the floor. And it kind of creates this kind of cool, like not too much details, but definitely not just a boring metallic great floor, you know, idea for the basing. And finally, the coolest miniature of the bunch, the boss queen herself. And because she's basically like the ultimate like alien in this set of miniatures, I wanted to break my philosophy of having the carapace and then opposite color for the skin. Now she breaks all the rules, and that's why she's the boss. You know, she has a very different color scheme. She has a really cool detailing on her base because she's such a big miniature. So just really cool, like this sewer where all the aliens are coming out of, because she's bending the lid that is trying to keep them enclosed, and she has like this alien in her hand. Again, you see the smaller, you know, yellow purple creatures. Comes back to those small guys from the beginning. But anyway, I chose for her to have interesting kind of basically skin design, where I felt the black was like the most dramatic looking color for her, but I didn't want it just to be black. I wanted to make sure that there's something interesting for her huge alien head, and I chose this kind of like a Slaaneshi purplish pink for her head, you know, to have that kind of a design over the black. I used my airbrush to spray the purple on top of the black, so that, like, you know, it looks more natural. But again, you can do it with your hand. That doesn't matter. You can use like different glazing and stuff. But this was just much quicker. And then her carapace is this kind of almost like NMM, non-metallic metal steel. But again, it's not supposed to be steel. It's supposed to be just like a shadow gray color scaling that is over all her body. But I just felt it looked quite badass, and that's why I chose it for the queen. So again, to reiterate, she is the boss. That's why she gets to break the rule of skin and carapace being opposite colors. And that's it. That's it for the Nemesis board game projects. I'm always going to add a 360-degree spinning footage of all the miniatures, or the miniature if it's one miniature, towards the end of the video, so you can just enjoy that kind of spinning and probably find some cool background music for it maybe. But thanks for watching. I hope you like this idea for the video series, and come back to watch again. Cheers.